Hey everyone, it's Peter Lin from Yardbird Entertainment. We're going to go over how to price your performances today and give you a good template that you can work off of. If you have any other comments or suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. So let's get started. Now you're probably wondering what KYW means. So there's a great drummer and fitness trainer named George Gray, and he came up with this term, and it means know your worth. I really like this term because it forces us as musicians to really put a price tag to our performances. So it also adds massive value to what we do so that we're not giving away our music for free. I love Blair Enns' book, Win Without Pitching. Although the book is catered towards designers, I think there's a big correlation between the creative aspects. All right, so here's the first proclamation that we have to make to ourselves. We will acknowledge that it is the availability of substitutes, the legitimate alternatives to the offerings of our firm that allows the client to ask and compels us to give our thinking away for free. If we are not seen as more expert than our competition, then we will be viewed as one in a sea of many, and we will have little power in our relationships with our clients and prospects. So the question becomes, if we were to put an actual number and price on the value of our performances, what would that actually look like? And have we contributed enough of our time and artistry into what we do so that we actually have value to our performances? So first, we need to go over some basic marketing terms. There's a great designer and influencer on YouTube named Chris Do. He has a channel called Futur, and I highly suggest that you check out some of those videos. Of course, as a designer, it's a little bit different, but there's a lot of correlation between our creative fields. There's this one video where he talks about value versus pricing, and I'll just give you a short rundown of what that is. Value is how someone feels about your service. There's a quote from Sinek, the author of Start With Why, and it reads, "Value is a feeling, not a calculation." If this is the case, then who is really deciding the value of your performance? So value is determined by the client, not by the seller. Christo uses the example of a Coca-Cola can. So for example, when you buy it from Costco, it's priced very low. And when you're buying it from a vending machine, it's just slightly higher, around $1 or $2, right? And when you're at a movie theater, it's extremely expensive, right? It's like about $6 or $7 now. But you see, the product is still Coke, and people are still willing to buy it, even at these different price points. Let's be clear that there's a lot of factors that go into how something is valued, but the actual cost of manufacturing that product stays the same. So the way that someone values your performance sometimes has nothing to do with the actual price. If you provide massive value to a customer, then they're willing to pay a premium for that service. We could talk more about value in another video, but today we're going to go over the actual numbers required for determining the price of your performance. So generally in the market, this is what price is. Price is equal to cost plus profit. So what is cost? In most product-based industries, cost is broken down like this. Cost is equal to the units of effort, usually time, plus materials. In musicians' term, cost is usually time commitment, usually an hourly rate is established for this, plus business expenses to perform, which includes a ton of factors that we'll get into. So let's say that you establish a base rate of $75 an hour, and you have $50 in business expenses to make the performance work. So really, the cost of an hour performance comes out to be $125. So profit is what you actually make. And profit can be determined usually by percentage, whether it's between 5 or 80%. Profit is also there to assume risk in any situation. If you really think about it, who is taking risk when you're being contracted for a gig? You have to block out the time for that performance. And what happens if anything happens to you on the gig? The liability is on you. So a lot of times when we take a gig, we assume these risks upon ourselves. And so we add profit as a cushion to make up for any of those risks. Realistically speaking, when someone is asking for the cost of a performance, what they're really asking for, and what you should be giving them, is the price which is again cost plus profit. So now we're going deep dive into cost. Cost is equal to hourly rate plus business expenses. So currently there is no real industry standard for hourly rate. Now let's just say that it's $75 an hour. This is not including all the business expenses that go into the performance. Again, this is just to make sure that you're getting paid for your time. If you find value in your time, then you have to be able to put a number on it. Usually it's good to establish an hourly rate for yourself and keep that in mind for the rest of your life. So when we're talking about business expenses, we have to think about the 4 W questions: the who, what, when, and where. I have a list here of some potential who's. So who is asking and who are you possibly contracting? Who is asking? Is a friend asking? A restaurant, nonprofit, jazz club, festival, wedding, corporate gig? The honest truth is that each of these situations have different costs incurred, and we have to be mindful of all those different factors. Also, each event has their own particular budget. You also have to think about who you are contracting if you're playing with anyone else. People with more experience usually ask for a higher rate. Also, if you're contracting other people, there is usually a leader fee for yourself. It doesn't hurt to ask the client what they will be providing as well, so that you can make the proper accommodations. Now you have to ask, what does it take to actually make the performance happen? Think about all the different aspects when you have to go and perform. You need to consider the following basic items when you're calculating your business expenses: your personal office, which includes your use of computer, your cell phone, printer, any subscription services, etc., etc. Contracted musicians, if any. Equipment, do they have a drum set provided? Is there a piano there? Travel, which includes car expenses, the train, subway, tolls, parking, hotel accommodations. Food and drinks, are they included, or is that something that you have to provide yourself? Is there a speaker system there? Do you need to provide a speaker system and a sound person? Song requests, it takes time to put together song requests. Taxes, we suggest checking out the book Profit First to calculate how much you actually need for taxes. Liability insurance, and advertising and promotion if they are asking for that. We suggest coming up with a number for each of these different items so that you have a good number for your business expense cost. So the next question is, when is this performance happening? The reason it's important to know when is because there's actual different demands for a musician depending on the time of the day of the week. Also, is there an extra rehearsal that's required? Is there a sound check time? Are you asking the musicians be there a significant time before the gig and after the gig? In terms of timing, you have to think about the following list. Is it a holiday? Is it a weekend? Is it a weekday? Is it the morning, day, or nighttime? The next question is, where is the performance happening? You have to consider the amount that you have to travel to get to this performance. Also, sometimes you have to think about, what is the general crowd at this location? Do you need to put extra work into advertising to make sure that people are coming out? Sometimes as an organization or as an individual, a certain community might fit within your mission statement, and you might want to give a discounted service to just go play in that particular community. So now we get to the actual profit part. Including profit into your equation is the only way to make sure that you actually have money left in the bank. It's really important to take care of yourself so that you can go and take care of others. You can always set a new goal for yourself in terms of percentages. So for example, for the first year, you might want to make a 5% profit, and then the next year you could bump it up to 10. Usually you have to think about how new you are to the scene or to performing. You don't want a profit margin that's extremely high if you feel like your quality is not quite there yet. But if you want to build a life for yourself and a career within this music, you have to keep profit in mind. So now we learn that price is equal to cost plus profit. It's up to you to put in the work now and to see what the actual price is for yourself. So before we close, let's ask why. Why even have this performance in the first place? Who is really benefiting from this performance? This is massively important because you need to calculate the value that you are providing in terms of the performance for a particular business. For example, if one of your friends is asking you to do a performance and they don't tell you that they're recording a CD and they're going to release it, this is not okay. Even though they're your friend, you're still providing a lot of value into this performance because they might use your name to put it more out there into the world. So you need to set up a deal and a contract in order to make this work. But we're going to talk about that some other day. So before we go, let me just leave you with some good closing notes. We personally will charge differently depending on the client due to the commitment and importance of the event. So it's best to ask any professionals you know in your area to see what they usually charge per hour according to each of these situations, so you can make a good estimate that won't undercharge or overcharge for the service. It's also important to note that most anything in life is negotiable. If the price doesn't fit the budget, there are other ways to negotiate the buyer or client covering other expenses to make the gig easier for yourself. You have to honestly ask yourself, should I even take this gig? There's a great pianist in the city named Jordan Piper, and he says there's 3 things that you have to think about when you take a gig: money, opportunity, and the hang. If 2 of the 3 is good, then you should probably take the gig. We also have to be realistic when it comes to our own finances. How much do you really need to feel successful as a musician? Thank you for watching this video on how to price your performances. If you like what you saw, make sure that you like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, thanks to James Cage for providing the music for this video. Let's take care of the business so that we can get to the music.